let's talk about Korea. How old are you now?
I'm 75.
Okay, so what year did you go to Korea?
1950, right after the war started.
Okay, give me just a quick, let's not take a lot of time, of our involvement in Korea and how we got involved, why, and then what, you know, and take me into that.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I can answer the reasons why, except that the communists came across the border, and they were our ally, and we wanted to defend them. I don't think 2% of the people that I knew in the Marine Corps at that time wanted to go. Mm-hmm. In fact, when the news broadcast came out that they had crossed the, started the war across the parallel, first of all, nobody knew what the heck a parallel was. And we agreed right then and there that it was down in Korea, it was down in South America someplace. Nobody knew where it was at. We soon learned. It was a rush thing. I was destined for radio school. I never got there because we went to Korea. I was in the air support team, which directed close air support for ground troops, which meant that, you know what a front line is? Well, we put our panel markers beyond the front line. So if there was a mistake made, we were the first to get it. I was new at everything. I had no idea about how you would feel if you killed somebody. The first person I shot and killed, we had invaded the island of Wamido outside of Incheon early in the morning, and which we had to sit there all day till they could invade Incheon that night because the tide was 27 feet. I never experienced anything like this in my life. But anyway, I had this guy. I had his head right on top of the sight, just like they taught us in boot camp, which was only a few months ago, right? But I couldn't pull the trigger. I don't know what it was. Something kept me from making that little movement. Then he pointed the rifle. He was shooting over that way. Then he pointed the rifle my way. I don't know if he saw me or not, but he pointed at me, and of course it looked like it was about 16 inches big. Well, then I squeezed the trigger. I don't know why, but I just did. And it caught him right flush in the face. Instantly, he was dead. And behind me was a sergeant named Willie Preble. 26 years in the Marine Corps. Carried 2 pearl-handled pistols like George Patton, right? And he said, I wonder when you're going to shoot that SOB. And, then I got sick. I upchucked. Well, we just had a breakfast of steak and eggs, apple pie, all you can eat. I thought it was great. I thought it was great they fed us so much. I learned later in life that the reason they feed you a lot, if you get a stomach wound, it only makes a puncture. Empty stomachs tears. Full stomachs puncture in and out. Easier to repair. They were looking out for themselves, right? But then I got mad because I lost my breakfast. I never... shooting somebody after that was never a problem. You have to excuse me, I don't do this very well. Fortunately, Willie Preble, old-time Marine, a lot of campaign ribbons, made sure I learned, and I did learn. When we went up to North Korea, we sat in place and we had a little rifle range. You could sharpen your skill, And the local armorer, the Marine was what they call the armorer, he took care of the weapons. He saw that I was a good shot. Why I was a good shot, I don't know. I never fired a weapon before I got in the Marine Corps. I was born and raised in South Philadelphia, and there's no place to go shooting, Not like some of these Tennessee farm boys that shoot at squirrels. And he tried to get me to use this O3, they call it. And it's a rifle from the First World War. And I said, you're out of your mind. I mean, I got an M1, that's new, fairly new. I'm not taking that old, it's a bold action thing. But he said, try it. Well, it was more accurate, and it felt better. And he said, if you like it, I'll get you a scope for it. I said, okay. And then I thought, what the hell is a scope? I don't know what a scope, I never heard this. Okay, I'll take anything, right? Even though I don't know what it is. When he mounted a scope on that, I could shoot. I couldn't believe how easy it was. Well, the guys in the outfit, in that picture I just showed you, they all laughed at me. You know, you got an old-fashioned rifle, you know, and all this. And I was the youngest kid in the group. I was only 18. But we saw, a few days later, we saw about 900 yards away with some communists. It took me 2 shots to get the first one, 4 to get the next 4. And I was on my way then of what I regret now. Killing somebody is easy if you can forget it. I can't forget none of them. I went on way up the reservoir, and we were overwhelmed. From what I gather, they tell us it was 164,000 Chinese, 8,000 to 10,000 Americans, mostly Marines. The Army flew in. General Haig was a member of the Chief of Staff then, you know, a young guy. Alman, I believe the general's name was Alman. Anyway, they said, destroy your weapons and surrender. We can't help you. And O.P. Smith said, forget it. We ain't destroying our weapons. That's what we fight with. Tell the world we will be out. And of course, I learned this years later. You know, when you're a private, you don't learn all these things in the beginning. The officers don't tell you everything that's happening. But the odds of 164,000 Chinese, 8,000 Marines, and we won. We lost about 900. They lost 44,000, plus the wounded. Now, grant you, they didn't have any aircraft. They didn't have a lot of heavy artillery and tanks. We did. They were crazy for trying it, but what a propaganda coup that would have been if they could annihilate the 1st Marine Division, which I found out years later that's what they were sent down to do. The Army general in charge of that Chinese army had not lost a fight in about 35 to 40 years. He's never been heard from since. He went home in disgrace, and they probably shot him for losing. You know, that's the way they are.
What happened to the Army? They were overrun before you guys got there.
The Army, they did not have the leadership. Now, there's been several books out about this, and they called the Army guys cowards. Forget it. They're not cowards. They just didn't have the training. I saw truck drivers with their M1 rifle in their rifle boot on the side of the vehicle, strapped in the combat zone. You don't do that. They have a truck driver. He's a great truck driver, but he's a piss-poor shot. In the Marine Corps, everybody qualifies, including the generals. Everybody is a good shot. If the Army guy's a cook, he's a great cook. He doesn't know how to fire. He doesn't know how to give him a machine gun, and he don't even know how to load it. But in the Marine Corps, you learn all that. And that's what happened to the Army. They had no leadership. A lot of their officers just abandoned them, and they just, the Chinese just overran them. It wasn't the men, it was the training. And I'll grant you, if you look in the books now, you'll see that from that day forward, the Army changed a lot of its training. And most of these troops were police troops, they're sent to occupation troops in Japan, who were living fat off the high of the land, you know, all that booze and stuff in Japan. Then they sent them to combat. They just weren't trained. The Marine Corps is different. The Marine Corps, I tell people, if your son joins the Army, send him cakes and stuff and write to him. Joins the Navy, be grateful. Joins the Air Force, he's got a good future because airplanes are a big thing. Joins the Marine Corps, pray for him, because Marines do one thing, they fight. When you fight, you die. I've always defended the Army guys. They were not cowards. They were just overwhelmed. They didn't have the training. The Marine Corps is a difference that we had a lot of training. We don't quit. And we were determined to come out. The general said we'd be out. And by God, if the general said this, the generals are right next to God. They're just one step away. If the general says we'll be out, we will be out. And we were.
We didn't know, we as the sailors, we didn't know the fullest extent of the brutality, of the casualties until later. We knew it was bad, because of all the messages that were being sent back and forth. We need troops. And of course the big troop ships sitting out then, they were further out than we were. And where our VPs only had to go 1,000 yards, some of these guys from the troop ships, they must have been going half a mile or more. And they were so sick when they hit the beach that some of them had lost their weapons because they were wading ashore. Sad. Just real sad. And this is where Mom and Dad, they knew that I was in England, and they knew from my past experiences in the Mediterranean that I was probably there. But in about a week is when they got a telegram that I was killed on D-Day. And it was devastating because I was an only child. I guess even, you know, if there had been more brothers or sisters, it's still when you lose a son. But my name is spelled L-E-W-I-S, my first name. And usually the first name is L-O-U-I-S. L-E-W-I-S is a surname. But there was another, this guy was a soldier, Army, from St. Louis, which was my hometown, spelled the same way. And it's understandable how things like that can happen, a mix-up in communication. But years later, when I went back, I found the cross, and Larry, I tell you, when you look down and you see you see your name, I cried all day. I couldn't help myself. I found within reason, in fact, in back of you there's a bottle that's got Omaha sand in it. See it? Anyway, I found the spot where we landed, and I kneeled and said a prayer. There's like a road that the 29th went up, and there's a monument there in memory of those who were killed.
Thank you, Rock, or something.